me crazy if you want, but I've never liked store-bought pets.
Damn, Susie, that's crazy. It also reminds me of the time that I decided to open myself up on TikTok and talk about how I got kidnapped by a duende or an elf growing up in Colombia, and it got like 7 million views. It was so huge that my TikTok ended up all the way in TikTok Indonesia. I had no idea how that happened. But so many people from Indonesia were saying the same thing, like, yes, we also have them here and we call them a different version of it. I also received a lot of hate, mainly from gringos, because you guys have been sold to the idea that magic and magical creatures or mystery creatures only exist in Harry Potter books or movies or just like movies in general. So after a full year of people calling me crazy and just making stuff up, I decided to open myself up, and I'm gonna tell you the full story and how it happened. In Colombia, we have these places called fincas, which are basically country houses, and they are surrounded by a bunch of forest-ish, el monte, pero like, I'll just say the forest. So the owner of the house, it was an uncle of mine, but I had no idea he was not like my biological uncle, but he's a friend of my family. But I grew up thinking that he was my uncle my whole life. So yeah. And it was me and a bunch of other kids. Mind you, I was one of the youngest ones. So we were playing this game called Escondite, which is like hide and seek. Yeah, it's hide and seek. And they told us multiple times to not go so deep into the woods because nobody was paying attention to us and everybody was just busy cooking. So they didn't want us to get lost. So it was a whole weekend, right? And there were also people who were not part of my family in the country house because it was huge, man. We had like, I don't know, like 20, 15 beds. So it was a huge house. And we were like 45, 35 minutes away from the city. Now, we were also sharing the house with people who I have never seen before, but they were my parents and also like my uncles and aunties' friends. So like people who maybe I didn't hang out with, but my family did. And they brought their kids. Mind you, I was a child. I had like 6, 5, 7 years old. I don't know. So I was meeting a lot of kids, maybe like 4 or 5 kids that I have never seen before. When we were playing hide and seek, we went to the woods because we just didn't want to get found, I guess. And I separated from 2 other kids and it went deeper and deeper. Why? I don't know. I was a stubborn kid. I wanted to win the game, okay? So when I went into the woods, I thought that I was going with someone else. Like I thought someone was behind me, like another kid was behind me. So like, oh yeah, like he's behind me, whatever. And then a new kid appeared. But I was like, At the moment, I thought it was the same kid, but I was like, you look different. Like, did you do something to your hair? And he goes like, no. We kept walking, we got deep into the woods, and we just decided to stop because he was like way too into the woods, like 15, 20 minutes away from the house. And then we decided to sit right by the river. And I'm not gonna lie, like my memory was a little foggy, but I just remember that we were just like seated by the river talking, and he taught me a lot of bad words. I remember that. And I don't know, we just like kept dancing and just talking and talking and talking. But like I never saw like I never saw that it got darker. I never saw like the day. Well, basically it's really sunny, right? Like I live in Cali, Colombia, so like it's like a tropical city, so it's very hot, very sunny, and it was always sunny. Like I never saw the stars or the moon or nothing. Like I always just saw the sun. Like the whole time I thought it was like the afternoon. Then after a while I was like, it's been a couple of hours, like maybe I should go and check because I feel like they got tired of us and they didn't look for us. And I said, listen, I gotta go and check because like it's been a couple of hours, I'm hungry, and I also needed to pee, and I don't pee in the woods, I'm sorry, ew. And he got so mad and his face like totally turned. It was a child face and then it turned like an old man face. It was insane. I was like, holy fuck. And then I saw his feet, and his feet were like facing the other way, like looking that way, like as if my fingers were pointing that way, and he was standing right here. I was like, holy fuck. I was a kid, I didn't know how to react, and I said, I'm gonna go. And I ran so fucking fast. When I got back to the place, I realized that it was a little bit chillier. It was like, it's in the morning, like it's weird. And it was also a little bit foggy. So I was like, that's weird. And then I knocked at the door and nobody was outside of the house because like We cooked outside and everything. I was like, where's everybody? Like, where's the music? Where's everybody? And then I knock at the door, and my family is waiting for me, and they were crying. They were like, oh my God, you're here. You're finally here. I was like, I left for like 3 hours. What happened? And they go, you left on Friday. It's Monday. Where the hell have you been? Mind you, I was like, what the fuck? I've been absent from my house for 3 days. And I thought it was, I thought I was out for like maybe 3 hours. Mind you, I never saw that it got darker. I never saw the stars. I never saw the moon. Nothing. Like, it was always sunny, right? And I was like, that makes no fucking sense. The police was called. Everybody was involved. Like, everybody went into the woods, and they never found me. Like, they said that they screamed my name so many times, and I swear I never heard anything. At first, they thought that I was drugged and trafficked, and then when I explained what happened and where I was, they were like, "Oh, that you were Duende." And you're lucky because so many kids, like, they get captured and they never come back. Like, I was lucky that I come back. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, after that, he kept coming back, but to my house in the city. I don't know how, but yeah, that's another story, and that's a long one. But yes, Susie, I think my story is not as crazy as your pesto, for sure. Okay, so this is part two of my last story time about how a duende basically kidnapped me and then found me again in the city. So this happened 3 months after the incident. Multiple people told my mother already that maybe he was gonna find me again or like go after me because they just don't tend to just visit you once. Like, it can last months or even years until they stop visiting you, or you have to do like a special ritual to get rid of it. And that is exactly what we had to do. Again, this happened 3 months after the incident. So one day I was just playing in the street outside of my house, and I see a kid who's very tiny, and he has like a huge pointy head, and he has like a really ugly face. And it was so weird because whenever I will try to tell someone that I saw it, like, I will not be able to speak. I was not able to speak. Like, I swear to you guys that I don't know if it was I don't know what the fuck it was. But whenever I try to explain to my mom, like, I will not be able to speak. Like, words will not be able to come out of my mouth. It was insane. And also, I was the only one who was able to see it. Now, usually when a duende appears, like, it's just not like, oh, everybody can see it. No, it appears to certain people. Like, if you're the target, you're gonna be the only one who's gonna be able to see it. And that's something that not many people realize. Or I have seen that not many people talk about this online. So I'm saying it right now. So I literally had to explain to my mom through signals, like, what was going on. So I literally had to write it down and let my mom know because I was not able to speak. So after I told my mom what I saw, or the kid that I saw, what was happening, she immediately went to the church. She's a very Roman Catholic woman, okay? She's a very devoted woman. So she went straight to church and talked to the priest who was in charge. Like, there are different priests in the church. And there's one priest who is in charge of like paranormal activity and mystical or ghosts, or like whatever you guys want to call it. Basically the ghostbusters of the church, okay? She spoke with the priest. He went to the house. He blessed the house. He told my mom the multiple prayers that she had to say every night for like, I feel like 15 días, 3 weeks, like 15 days or 7 days, something like that. And the duende got mad. Like, the elf got mad. He was throwing tantrums. And again, I was the only one who was able to see it. But my sister later on was able to also see what was going on, or like feel it, but not totally see it. Like, I had a cup of water in my hand, and like the duende will smack it out of my hand, and my sister would just see how I had the water here, and it just flew. Like, I had it, like I didn't throw it, like someone pushed it. I see someone push it. And also, like, she will see like things, an example, like my toys. Often she will just pick up after me, and she will just place it in a way. And then when I was in school, right? When I was in school and she was home, the toys will just be like all over the room, or like in a different place, or just like things will just be moving around the house without anyone being in the house. And she was the one who organized it, so she knows, and she knows that I was not there, so it couldn't be me. So she also started to like, oh shit, like seeing stuff. So after the multiple prayers, after like putting a lot of agua bendita and like holy water around the house, it finally stopped visiting us for like a while. Also, like, yeah, it stopped at like 7 days or so. And my mom just kept praying and like she took it as a habit and she never left it. Like, I don't want this shit coming back to my house, so I'm never gonna stop praying. And she never did. She never stopped praying, and yeah, that's how it followed us back home. And yeah, I feel like it didn't want it to kidnap me again. Like it just wanted to mess with me. And again, so many people were asking like if I had like more spiritual gifts ever since I came back. And I have had spiritual gifts my whole life. Literally since my mom was pregnant with me. Multiple people like curanderos or like spiritual gifted people or healers. We have a bunch of those in Colombia, like all over South America actually. But a bunch of them were telling my mom like, oh, your child is a spiritual gifted. Your child is spiritual gifted. Like I have a spiritual gift, or like spiritual creatures or like ghosts or spirits tend to come at me, like manifest themselves to me for some reason. So yeah, that was not the first time I had a paranormal activity in my life. But yes, if you guys want more story times, I'll be happy to, as long as you guys don't bully me. But yeah.
You guys wanted a story time? So let's do it. I do want to start off by saying that I grew up in an extremely haunted house. The type of house where every single day we were having all different type of experiences with different beings. Later on, we did find out that there was a portal in the basement, which is the reason for the high amount of activity. But to the Duende story. After my divorce, I moved back to my mom's house temporarily, which is the haunted house. My son was about 2 years old at the time. Shortly after we moved in, my son started having night terrors. He would wake up in the middle of the night screaming, saying that he was seeing things, that his blanket was being pulled off of him while he was sleeping, that his hair was being pulled. Mind you, he was 2, closer to 3, so he wasn't very like vocal, but I could understand what he was saying, and he was really frustrated about the whole thing. Me being extremely sensitive and able to pick up on things, I could not see what was bothering him. It wasn't until one day my mom brought it up to me. She was like, it sounds like what's going on with him is a duende. I think he may have a duende attached to him. This was my first time of really hearing about a duende, and I was like, a duende? What do you mean? After she explained it, everything that was going on in the house made sense. His toys would go missing and we would find them in the basement, like in a circle. Like just so much happened in a short period of time. I remember one night after one of his many screaming episodes where he would wake up in the middle of the night screaming, I calmed him down. I'm wide awake at this point, so I decided to go to the living room and start watching TV. I remember as I'm sitting in the living room, I can feel this side of my body, like the hairs on this side of my body stand up, and I knew that something was like near me. I don't remember being afraid. I was more frustrated, and very firmly I said to this thing, "You're such a coward. You keep hiding from me and I can't see you. Show yourself." I look over this way and I see it. His face was smaller than this one, but he had the green clothes. He was hovering over just like this photo and was looking at me through like his side eye with that same smirk. Now that I think back, I remember that he was standing right in front of this glass case that my mom had in the living room where she kept all these like really expensive like decorations inside of it. So he was standing like right in front of it like this, like waiting to like do something. I jumped off the couch and went after him and started yelling at him to get out of the house, that he wasn't welcome here, that you need to leave. He disappeared the minute I got up and then just left. He would still come around every now and then, but it became less and less as my son got older. We did end up having the priest come bless the house, which helped a little bit. But the minute we took the fear out of the equation, he slowly lost interest.
My first and only encounter with a duende, and I hope it stays that way. It was midnight, and my friends have been texting me, asking me to come out with them. I was stuck between should I wake up my mom and ask her if I can go, or should I just go and she wouldn't even know because I'd be back home before she woke up. I snuck out the house. Yes, I did. So it was both of my friends in the front, and I was in the back seat. This is exactly where it happened, but of course it was nighttime. I can't tell you what street this is because my friend's family still lives here, but it's in San Benito, Texas. So we're cruising down the street up till right there. Now, this is not my friend's car, but it just so happened to be in the same spot we were in. When all of a sudden, I see a little person turn into a dog and then cross the street this way. Now, if I had just seen it by myself, I could have just lied to myself and said, nah, that is not what I saw. Fuck that, it's a hallucination. I don't know what the fuck that was. But I couldn't lie to myself because at that exact moment, all three of us sighed at the exact same time. Like that. When we all sighed, my friend that was driving hit the brakes. And he was like, what was that? And my other friend that was in the passenger seat was like, wait, don't say anything. He was like, in the count of 3, we all say what we saw. I was freaking out. Freaking the fuck out. 3, 2, 1. We all said a little person turning into a dog. And it wasn't like a little kid. It didn't look like a little kid. It looked bulky and little. This is the best way to show you what I saw. No, I'm not gonna lie and say, oh my god, I saw that big ass hand, because I did not. But this silhouette, this shape, this is what I saw turn into a dog. Almost like it got caught and it had to like hide, pretend to be a dog. Moral of the story, don't sneak out because you will see a duende and die. Just kidding, but yeah, no, I never sneaked out after that because lesson learned. Do not go out without your parents' permission.
So I came across a post the other day where this person was saying that these Oompa Loompa type things have been bothering them, and this is in Humboldt County a month ago. So I messaged the person, asked them if it was cool if I told their story, and they said I could, so here it is. So he said a couple months ago he made a post about these ugly Oompa Loompa things, and he said he caught them messing around in his garden. When they realized that he was seeing them, they took off, and he figured, you know what, that was the end of it because he didn't see them for weeks after that. So he figured I could move on from this weird ordeal. He said he went through Christmas and New Year's for 2024 and everything was fine. He said he began to even forget about what he had seen. Then suddenly a month ago in 2025, he heard a little dink on his window. So he looked out his window and saw one of them. And when he looked out the window, it started running towards the bushes, like laughing, like it was like playing a trick on him. He said he ran outside to try to see what this was, but he couldn't find it. But what he did find was a tiny white stone sitting right under his window. Then a couple days later, again, dink, and finds a little white stone under his window again. Then a week later, it happens again. He said at this point, they've come at least 7 different times doing this. He says it hasn't broken any of his windows or anything like that because they're just little tiny stones, just like dink on his window. He said at this point he has a collection of these little white stones. He says he doesn't understand why they're bothering him. He's like, is this some kind of payback for something? He doesn't know. And he's basically asking the community what he should do. He also says that he has a picture of these white stones that he was going to post, but I think maybe he forgot to. But I am in communication with him, so I'm going to see if I can get those photos because he did give me permission to tell this story. And what's crazy is that a bunch of people are commenting in here saying that he's not the only one experiencing this in Humboldt County specifically. A lot of different people are like, I've seen the same thing. There's actually someone who posted another Reddit link that was like, there's another person who says the same thing is happening to him and actually caught a photo. If any of you have ever experienced anything like this, let me know in the comments or send me a message because I genuinely think that this is a duende.
You guys are so sweet. I did get a lot of requests to do another duende story, so here you go. Okay, so this one has to do with a child. So this is my cousin's girlfriend. She was his girlfriend at the time, and she is from El Salvador. We are from Guatemala. It's very common in our culture for Salvadorans to marry Guatemalans and Guatemalans to marry Salvadorans and them to live in each other's countries. Okay, so basically, she had a little cousin, and her little cousin started to have a friend. Now, no one can see this friend. No one knew who this friend was, but she was insistent that she would see someone there with her. So it started to progress, right? So she would have a friend. Then after a while, her friend would tell her to do things and she would get in trouble for it. She would say, it's my friend's doing it, my friend's telling me what to do. It wasn't her friend. Then at a certain point, it started to manifest into something bigger. So then the little girl would say that she would get woken up in the middle of the night. And then at some point she would wake up the next morning and she would say, hey, cousin, why did you wake me up? Or hey, family member, why did you wake me up? And they're like, what are you talking about? I didn't wake you up at night. So she thought she was being woken up by family members, right? Then the parent, oh, this is creepy, this gives me goosebumps. They started to see little braids in her hair. Now, one of the indicators that it is a duende is because they like to braid hair. And they're not normal braids, okay? They're like these tiny little braids and you cannot take them out. So from what I remember is by the time that they braid your hair, that means they're already so close, like they're already too close. They've marked you, you are who they want to take. So this one, this night, the little girl, okay, so the cousin, so the family member of this little girl was visiting, right? And the little girl was woken up. The little girl there was like, shoot, you have to go down to a basement or something. And the little girl was being called now. So this is kind of like, oh, this is goosebumps. So this is kind of like the final calling when they're gonna take you. And so they were like calling her, like, come here, and she thought it was her family member again. So she no longer was just being waken out of bed, she was being lured out of bed. The family member, like whoever was visiting, knew, hi Popeye, knew enough to know that this is not it. This was not a normal thing. So thankfully they stopped her, they saved her. And again, they had to do a ruda cleanse. They had to cleanse the house. They had to take her away because this little thing will follow you. And they are very possessive. They are very obsessive. And they're very mischievous. So I've never heard a story of a duende being good. They're always mischievous and there's always something. They're like a negative entity, almost like a negative pest, if you will, and they will continue to go after you. You have to go to extreme measures to get rid of them. That's the stories that my grandmother would tell me. So you really need to be careful because the fact that in my mind that they're no longer just in our country and they're like roaming around. I mean, my grandmother used to say, or my uncle used to say, they exist in our countries because we believe in them, so we give them power to manifest. Maybe something is happening for them to grow and now appear in other areas. I, for one, follow so many traditions from my family that sometimes people are like, oh, that's a cute little decoration. Of course, it's just a decoration. It is kind of engraved in me to protect the energy of my home. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I do have more, but have a beautiful day and just claim God. You know, that's the easiest thing I feel like you can do. Protect yourselves out there. Oh, also, I had a lot of you ask me to link her account. You guys, I cannot find her account, and that is so creepy because you can only find duets. And then I went and I found the Navy Mom. I found Christina, which are the two handles that I think are attached to her. I cannot find her anymore. I don't know what happened. I hope it's just some random coincidence, but I hope she's okay, and I hope that she's protecting her family.
My grandpa, you know, he's like old and stuff, and he still, like, to this day when he tells us about the time that he saw un duende, like, he comes to like tears, like he's so afraid. Well, my grandpa vivía en el monte, and you know, he was from a really humble upbringing, and they used to have to go to the river to get water, right? And so he would go on his horse and go get water and bring water back to his house. So anyways, he was getting water, you know, filling up his, you know, I don't know what, from the river. And when he saw across the river, he saw like a little glowing person, and it was a female because it had like long hair, but it was a little creature. It had glowing jewelry, he described it as. She started going like this, like come over, like crossing the river, and the horse saw it and fucking left him, dude. And he like legit had to chase his horse down.
So last week I posted this Dad Bought a Duende video, and last night I stayed up reading all my comments, and a lot of you left your own Duende stories. Bitch, I was scared. So let me share a few with you guys here. My mom had one that grew attached to her as a child. It followed her around the globe for years, and she was super lucky with gambling because of it. Okay, question, did she have to feed it and give it water like that other story? Does the Duende still follow her? Is it still attached? We need answers. When I was like 5 years old, my mom says I had friends, and one night she woke up to me laughing and walking up the monte with a stick, and I said my friends wanted me to go live with them. I think the you laughing alone would have scared me, but then you telling her that your friends wanted no. But I have heard of like duendes taking like kids, and the kids go missing for days and then they come back. Okay, question, do you remember any of it though? My abuela told me that one tried to steal me when I was a baby. I was wrapped in my blanket on the bed and ended up on the floor under the table, still wrapped up, no crying, nothing, still asleep. I was a Texas teacher. One kindergarten student would tell me that the duendes would pull her blanket every night. She was always scared, but parents didn't listen. I get it that kids have like wild imaginations, but like this is kind of specific. Once my keys were lost for 2 days and I called my grandma. She said to scold it loudly and ask for the keys back and check every corner of the house. I heard keys fall and I found them in my closet corner. Never saw it though. My husband swears he saw one on his dad's ranch in California. It freaked him out. No one believed him. I'm gonna tell him to lure the duende with sunflower seeds to prove it. I don't know, that's a great idea. The house I grew up in was really haunted, and there was a duende in the closet with red eyes. I remember my grandma and grandpa having one in Mexico. It was so ugly, and she would make me give him candy, and I always asked her why, and my grandpa would say so he doesn't mess with you. And I always thought he was playing around with me, but I don't know, my grandma would have me pick out a bag of candy for him and leave it for him. I'd be so scared, but I've also heard that there's people who invite them into their home, and I'm sure they must know what they're doing, you know what I mean? Personally, no. If you have any duende stories, please leave it in the comments or DM me.
Do not mess with duendes. I mean it. Story time. Okay, so I've been meaning to make this video for a very, very long time. And I was thinking about making it last night, and everything went downhill. And for some background information, duendes are basically this myth creature that were used as a scare tactic for little kids. Yes, this little creature's right here. And honestly, this is terrifying. When I was little, I grew up being babysat by my mom's best friend. And she came from Mexico, and she always talked about these duendes and saying how they would take us if we didn't behave good. And also, if you mess with them, they would literally make your life hell. Me and my best friend, being the little shits that we were when we were little, we would search up these videos on YouTube that were clearly fake. Pixelated, bootlegged ass videos. Nonetheless, these creatures are real. Anyways, I decided to get bold last night, and you wanna know what I said? I said, fuck these trifling ass duendes. But in my mind, I just said it in my mind. And you wanna know what happened? All over my bed!
There's a relative in my family. They say that he used to talk to Duende. When he was a kid, he used to talk to Duende. Bro, this is sad. RIP to the relative, no disrespect. There was like a tree in their house, in their backyard. He would always leave the house to just talk around the tree and talk to Duende. The parents would see him talking to nobody. They wouldn't see anything, right? The sad thing is, eventually he had to move away when he was older.
Okay.
He went to like another part of the Philippines. But when he moved away, he got really sick. This is from what someone's telling me the story.
Yeah.
The reason he got sick was because they didn't want him to leave. Bro. Yo, this is sad. Supposedly, when he was getting sick and when he was on his way to passing away,
Yeah.
not only did he get sick, but he never grew. He stayed the same height as when he was a kid.
Wow.
So you can imagine duendes are
Yeah.
short.
Wait.
Duendes are short, right?
Yeah.
He was friends with the duende
Uh-huh.
and he stopped growing. Now check this out. When he was passing away, no disrespect.
Yeah.
This is what my relative was saying, but he started to...
I went missing when I was 6. This all occurred when I was 6 years old in Managua, Nicaragua. My grandmother in Nicaragua lives in a finca, which is basically like a huge farm. She grows coffee and other plants, has cattle, etc. If you don't have a Jeep or some sort of off-road vehicle, it's really tough, if not impossible, to make it up to her place, as it's surrounded by thick rainforest. Most people use horses or motorcycles on the trail up to her finca. Typically, we had a Jeep that we would be able to drive all the way up there, but it was getting repaired. And we had to take a cab. It was around midday and the cab dropped us off where the paved road ends. It was about 1.5 mile walk to my grandma's finca, and we'd walked there plenty of times. There were homes along the trail, but they were far and few in between. I was with my parents and little sister, who's 2 years younger. Nothing eventful really happened. It was a bright summer Nicaragua day. Pretty hot, but the forest shade helped. I remember playing with one of my favorite toys. It was the Green Ranger that you could push a button, and his head would switch from his normal head to his helmet. Anyway, I was playing with it as we walked along the trail. We then arrived to a small stream. My parents were easily able to jump over and keep walking. They looked behind them, and I could see them watching me as I tried to make the jump, smiling at me. I do make the jump, but drop my toy. It got picked up by the stream, and I immediately started following it. I could hear my parents yelling for me, but I'm too focused on catching my toy. This next bit I remember vividly. All of a sudden, I'm like in a field with very tall grass. It's surrounded by trees. The one thing I remember is that it was eerily quiet. I have to reiterate that this is a Central American forest. It is never quiet. I see small tiny orbs in the tall grass. I'm not afraid of them, more intrigued. They were weightless and floating. I started walking towards them, but then I get scared and run away. I remember getting sleepy as I fell against a tree trunk. I was missing for 2 days, and the next thing I remember is waking up in the back of a bus. When I told my family the story, they believed duendes took me. A telltale sign of them being present is seeing small floating lights in the trees amongst tall grass. What do you think? Was it duendes?